I'm honored to be invited as one of the speakers for this year's Western Conservative Summit. And the reason I'm here is really to inform the American conservatives that under the President Xi Jinping, there is a war already declared against the faith community, against the family, against the freedom. So religious freedom has come really now in China to the worst that in 40 years. And we have seen the Chinese Communist Party under party chairman, Secretary Xi Jinping, has really cracked down on all people of faith, and especially those they perceived as their kind of political threat, including, of course, the Tibetans, the Uyghur Muslims, the underground house churches, and the Catholic churches, the Falun Gong practitioners, and really it's already the worst. Last year alone, according to our own documentation, that over 100,000 person times, of the Christians leaders were detained, arrested, and incarcerated. Some were already sentenced to 4 years, 14 years imprisonment, and many of them were tortured. And we documented at least 50,000 were physically, mentally tortured and abused. So we need to let the American know, and also we need to kind of stand in solidarity together, because when the so-called world's second largest economy under the communist China is also the worst persecutors of faith and religious freedom, and certainly family. And we in America, as a country embracing these values, the first freedom, especially religious freedom, and the Communist Party is not only pose a threat to the 1.3 billion Chinese people, but also a major threat to Americans, to any people on earth who cherish freedom for all. Raised alarm to our freedom-loving American citizens that the Chinese Communist Party is not only trying, every way to suppress freedom for the Chinese citizens inside its territory, and its Communist Party's long arm had already extended to the U.S. territories. Yesterday, in New York City, on the street of New York City, when President Tsai Ing-wen from Taiwan visited New York City, and a group of Chinese freedom-loving political dissidents organized a welcoming party on the street, and then the Chinese Communist Party hired thugs, 200 to 300, and start physically beating up those who are welcoming President Tsai, and at least 5 of them were sent to the hospital. This is happening in American soil. This shows the kind of brutality and, of course, the aggressiveness of the Chinese Communist Party. That's my purpose to stand here, really to share what's happening in China and what's happening here, to the communities here, that it does matter. We need to not only know, we need to take action to tackle this, I think the largest threat to the 21st century, not only to America, but to the world. That is the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, and earlier you mentioned a group which is Falun Gong. Mm-hmm. As you know, it's been persecuted for many years. This is the 20th year, basically, since 1999.
That's right, 1999. This is 20 years. We have seen, is there anything changed from the standpoint of a Communist Party perception of this Falun Gong peaceful religious practicing movement? No, that is only getting worse. The thousands already died, were dead under the torture of the communist regime. And most horrible thing, I think, the international community and those who cherish life need to know is the Communist Party has been found in systematically engaging this organ harvesting. So this is involves so many people. The Communist Party would use this medical facility, to harvest and hunt, people's organ when they are still alive. So this is something we need to expose them further. Yeah, mhm. That's right. We need to let them know. Uh-huh. And the censorship, of course, the great firewall. So that's another thing the freedom-loving, community needs to tackle. To break that firewall, the 21st century, the last, I think, internet Berlin Wall. Yeah, absolutely. We should add the religious freedom, human rights on the top agenda when President Trump is negotiating with trade deals. I know when I met with Vice President Mike Pence, and he, he does care, and he made that speech, of course, at Hudson Institute last year, and I think next week Secretary Pompeo, will certainly, continue to push for that agenda. I think because after all, we are not just live for how many products we sold to China or how much products we export, import from China. We are not just the people live, by the money, and we live by the value, by what we believe in, what we are convicted. That is, the first freedom. We said in this summit, this morning's speaker, everyone, reconfirm and even from both parties, right? And so freedom matters not only, in a annual human rights dialogue, in a kind of government, one group or one bureau of democracy and rights and labor. It matters across the board. It matters to every day of our lives. And take for like Christmas lights. It is a commercial product. But if you only just say, oh, we just purchased the cheapest Christmas lights and export from China, and without knowing that this many of these products were made by the hands of those hard laborers of the prisoner of conscience, and many of them had to work 18 hours a day and for free labor. Then China exported to the United States at Walmart, and of course, you can't compete with free laborers, but they are, manufactured by those freedom, loving prisoners. And how could we kind of ignore that part of, human rights, and by just turn a blind eye by saying, okay, I just buy the cheapest product. So that's why I see I would push again for President Trump and his team to really kind of put this religious freedom, human rights agenda in his foreign policy.